In this presentation, we're going to discuss machine doubling versus hub doubling. Double means twice as much in size, strength, number, or amount. Doubling means to make twice as great, to be twice as much as, or in numismatics, merely to be more than. Hub doubling and doubled dies have nothing to do with how the planchet is struck inside the striking chamber. Doubled dies are not the result of multiple strikes upon a planchet. Hub doubling is a result of a hub causing doubling on a die during the hubbing process, in the hubbing press, when pressing the design onto a die. The doubling is transferred to the coins by that doubled die. Hub doubling will display notching of the serifs of the devices and/or separation lines which define the interface of the doubling. The doubling results in the devices being larger or thicker than the originally intended dimensions or displayed as extra devices. An overall direction of the doubling, rotational or linear, can most often be detected. Here's an example of hub doubling or doubled die. This is the famous 1969 San Francisco Lincoln Cent FS101 doubled die number 1. Note that the splitting or notching of the serifs, as well as a very strong separation line. Machine doubling. Double vision is a disorder of vision in which a single object appears doubled. Machine doubling is a type of worthless doubling often mistaken for the more valuable and collectible hub doubling found on legitimate doubled dies. Machine doubling can confuse a beginning variety collector and can make experienced collectors pause for a closer look. Machine doubling is not a numismatic variety. It is an imperfection and an unintended error in the minting process. Machine doubling is often described as shelf-like and as taking away from the size of the devices on the coins. It gives a double vision appearance to the devices on coins. The scraping of the devices by the die results in the remains of the primary devices being reduced in size from their originally intended dimensions. Machine doubling occurs within the striking chamber during the minting process of the coins. There can be many different causes for the dies to inflict machine doubling upon coins within the striking chamber and can sometimes occur during the ejection of the coins from the striking chamber. Some of these causes can be due to vibrations from loose tolerances resulting from improper calibration or preparation of the press or the die assembly. Such loose tolerances can cause chattering, bouncing, sliding, or dragging of the die against the coin within the striking chamber. Here's an example of machine doubling, also on a 1969 San Francisco Lincoln Cent. Here you'll notice that it is a shelf-like appearance and that the original size of the devices is smaller. The primary device is the major device shown here, And the doubling is the shelf effect, reducing the device in size. Machine doubling cannot be attributed because it is a random, one-time, unduplicated event. Continued machine doubling of subsequent coins minted at the same time will not be exactly replicated. Such an error can arguably be said to not be worth any additional premium and is not collectible. Here is another example of machine doubling. Notice the reduced size of the original device dimensions, as well as a shelf-like appearance to the doubling. Here's an example of the machine doubling versus hub doubling side by side. Machine doubling is also known as mechanical, push, slide, or strike doubling, shift, shelf, or ejection doubling, and a unique rim-restricted design doubling. Machine doubling plus hub doubling. Machine doubling can sometimes accompany actual hub doubling. Here's an example, the 1940S 1 cent DDO 002 Stage C. It is a Class 6 doubling. Note the thickness in the devices is the Class 6 doubling, and the machine doubling on the mint mark as well as the numerals of the date. Machine doubling and mint marks. Prior to 1990, when mint marks were punched onto the working dies, doubling of the mint marks was either due to repunched mint mark or machine doubling. It is an example of RPM 1 on the 1960 San Francisco Lincoln cent. If a coin minted prior to 1990 is discovered with a possible RPM, and there is machine doubling in the date or elsewhere on the coin, machine doubling should be suspected before trying to attribute the mint mark as an RPM. Machine doubling on a mint mark does not always accompany machine doubling on other devices of the coin. Here we have machine doubling on the date as well as the mint mark on a Lincoln cent from 1968. Machine doubling and mint marks continued. From 1990 onward, doubling of the mint marks is due to either doubled dies or machine doubling. Here's an example of a doubled die with a doubled mint mark, the 1995 D FS103. Another example is on the Washington quarter, the 1990 S WDDO number 1 FS101. The mint mark is doubled, not repunched. Machine doubling is random. There can be no premium associated with it. It's unattributable. It is an error. It shouldn't be collectible, and is unduplicated. As a general summary, Once again, machine doubling is often described as shelf-like and is taking away from the size of the devices on coins. It gives a double vision appearance to the devices on coins. The scraping of the devices by the die results in the remains of the primary devices being reduced in size from their originally intended dimensions. On the other hand, hub doubling will display notching of the serifs of the devices and/or separation lines which define the interface of the doubling. The doubling results in the devices being larger or thicker than their originally intended dimensions or displayed as extra devices. An overall direction of the doubling, rotational or linear, can most often be detected.